If you had to guess the top 5 states throughout the entire country to retire in, would Pennsylvania and Delaware come to mind? Probably not, because most people think of states such as Florida, which are known for retirement. But in more recent years, Pennsylvania and Delaware surpassed most other states throughout the entire country, including the typical retirement states such as Florida, for being the best states to retire in. Let's compare Pennsylvania and Delaware so you know which state would or wouldn't be best for you to retire in. Hi there, I'm Corey Benhart, your Pennsylvania realtor. I specialize in helping people just like you make the move to Pennsylvania to find their perfect home. So if at the end of this video, Pennsylvania turns out to be the perfect place for you to retire, I would love to hear from you. All of my contact information is below, and let's get started. In no specific order, let's get started with the cost of living and taxes in each state. Starting with retirement income, Pennsylvania is known as a very tax-friendly state for retirees because 401ks, IRA, and Social Security is fully tax exempt. In some instances, depending on your situation, people over 65 could have their property tax reduced or fully exempt in Pennsylvania as well. In Delaware, Social Security is also fully tax exempt, but other retirement income is not, although there may be some exclusions when the time comes. For income tax, Pennsylvania is one of few states that has a flat rate tax, meaning no matter how much you make, everyone is taxed at the same 3.07% tax rate, and that does not fluctuate depending on how much you make. Delaware has an income tax range up to 6.6% if you make $60,000 a year or more. Pennsylvania has a 6% sales tax, whereas Delaware doesn't have any sales tax. Before we get into the everyday common cost of living comparison, let's go over the overall cost of living for both states, starting with Delaware. According to bestplaces.net, the overall cost of living scores is 103.5, which means it's 3.5% higher than the national average cost of living, compared to Pennsylvania, which has an overall cost of living score of 94.6, which is 5.4% below the national average and 8.9% below Delaware's average cost of living. Let's see how these numbers compare when it comes to the actual everyday costs. Starting with the grocery category, Delaware is rated at 105.9. Pennsylvania is 100.3. For the health category, Delaware is 112.2. Pennsylvania is 101.1. Housing is 104.4 in Delaware and 80.5 in Pennsylvania, which we'll talk about later in this video. For utilities, Delaware is 105.2 and Pennsylvania is 98.2. Transportation in Delaware was ranked 95.8 and in Pennsylvania, 104. So when it comes to the both overall cost of living and when we break it down by the everyday costs, Pennsylvania wins for overall affordability and cost of living. The average sales price of a home in Delaware is $387,158 compared to Pennsylvania with an average sales price of $269,276 for a difference of over $117,000 more affordable for the average price of a home in Pennsylvania. Of course, these are just averages all across the state. When it comes to real estate, the actual average sales price greatly depends on not only the type of real estate that you're looking at, such as a condo, townhome, single family home, etc., but also when it comes to the actual specific area, town, county, zip code, etc. as well. Now let's compare the weather between these two states. Although they are not too far away, they are for the most part pretty similar in weather except for a couple of small differences. The major difference is that Pennsylvania is known for having 4 distinct seasons throughout the year, unlike Delaware where it's a bit muted. On average, Pennsylvania receives 38 inches of rain per year and 28 inches of snow, although that greatly depends on where within Pennsylvania you end up moving to. Of course, more northern parts of Pennsylvania receive much more snow compared to the more northeastern parts, specifically where I live around the Philadelphia metro area. If we look at most of Pennsylvania, including the Philadelphia metro area, there really hasn't been that big of a snowstorm in probably about 3 or 4 years. Last year in the winter of 2023 was truthfully the first snowstorm that has really accumulated much on the roads or on the grass at all in the past 3 years or so. During the winter, you can expect around an average temp of 38 degrees. But again, that really depends on where within the state you end up moving to, because some days we will get not so lucky with temps down in the 20s, but also a couple of random days throughout the winter with temperatures up in the 50s as well. During the summer, the average temperature is 83 degrees with 67% humidity. And in Delaware, the winter temperatures range from around 30 to 50 degrees with an average snowfall of 8 to 12 inches, which is a much smaller range because if it snows in Delaware, it's snowing just about throughout the entire state just because of how small of a state Delaware is. The average summer temp in Delaware is around 80 degrees with an average humidity of 70%. When it comes to the things to do in both of these states, they both having such incredible things to do, such as explore all of the state's history, which both of these states have such a long, very interesting history. There's a countless amount of parks, paths for hiking, walking, etc., along with plenty of shopping and dining options throughout the states as well. There are also plenty of community centers, YMCAs, 55 plus communities, and honestly so much more to do both inside and outside depending on what you're looking for. One of the major differences between these two states is that Delaware has access to a beach, unlike Pennsylvania, which is landlocked. And unfortunately, although you have tons of access to bodies of water such as large lakes, rivers, etc., there is no actual beach access in Pennsylvania. Although depending on where within the state you move to, you could only be around 30 minutes to an hour or so from the Jersey Shore. The next and arguably most important category that we're going to be going over is the healthcare between these two states. Out of all 50 states, Delaware ranked 31st for the best healthcare and Pennsylvania came in at the 13th best overall. The major downside of Delaware healthcare is just how small the actual state is, which means less hospitals, less availability of hospitals, less top-rated facilities, etc. Although Pennsylvania came in at the 13th best overall, if we focus specifically more on the Philadelphia metro area, you would be truly shocked to see how much of a healthcare mecca the downtown Philadelphia and Philadelphia suburbs are. Just in that area of Pennsylvania alone, there are some of the best hospitals throughout the entire country, such as the Hospital of the University of Pennsylvania, Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, Fox Chase Cancer Center, Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, also known as CHOP, Doylestown Hospital, and Mainline Health, just to name a few. A fun fact when it comes to the healthcare in that area of Pennsylvania, 1 in 6 doctors throughout the entire country. So if you've ever seen at least 6 doctors in your life, at least one of them was trained in Philadelphia. If you're ready to retire to Pennsylvania, I would love to help you find your perfect home. All of my contact information is down in the description below. And until then, I'll see you over on this video where we talk more about retiring in Pennsylvania.